he obviously has a calculated agenda, because every chance he gets to have a public platform, he goes on to this shit. This is his thing. He even said, was it this one or was it?
You're really racist. I just don't think you're friend. He was so friend. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah, racists have never been nice before. That's a new one.
To swap numbers to hang out, so like, I don't know. I just feel like
whole ass Holocaust, it would still be
that.
Even if it didn't culminate to a Holocaust. Wait, he doesn't think there was any anti-Jewish bigotry?
Oh my god, you're frustrating me so.
I'm excited to see Nick again. I like him. I think he's a nice person.
Nick who? Fuentes?
Nick Fuentes.
Is that who we're talking about?
I don't think. I asked him on the show, like, are you anti-Semitic? Would you label yourself anti-Semitic? And he said no.
Nobody would.
Lauren, have you heard of this concept of a lie? This is the problem with Nick Fuentes.
Okay, so that's one of the clips I saw. So, all right, let's go ahead and call up Lauren from here. So yeah, you recently told me how you got a chance to meet Fuentes, but then you said that you didn't think he was really a bad person. And then I saw this clip just now of you saying that he said he wasn't anti-Semitic, so you don't think he is, which I think is kind of silly. So yeah, maybe you can like just further elaborate and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so the only reason, as I've told you multiple times, I'm even involved in politics in the first place or care about it at all is because of how shocked I was when COVID hit and I had all of my rights stripped, and it really felt like the Constitution was going down the drain. And it was particularly egregiously scary when conservatives in particular were incapable of talking about certain issues involving their opinions on Hunter Biden, their opinion on the COVID vaccine, their opinion on the COVID origins. There were multiple things that conservatives were being censored over. And as somebody who, went to law school, who cares deeply about the First Amendment, that was my big thing. And I built my entire channel on the premise of we need to be more open with free speech. Everybody should be allowed to be heard. Even shitty ideas need to be heard because even as
But I would say Nick Fuentes has shitty ideas, but you're saying they're not shitty ideas. So like whether or not his shitty ideas should be heard is one thing.
I didn't say that they're not shitty ideas, but I did say I don't think he's genuinely anti-Semitic, because I feel like, here's the thing, if I'm genuinely a racist, why would I care if people knew I was a racist, And
because that's not the best thing for optics a lot of the times. And he knows that if he just straight up admitted it, then that would be used against him by people he doesn't like. He's already acknowledged, publicly that he lies and uses humor as this like mask because he doesn't want to get in too much trouble, or is kind of too much tongue in cheek sometimes. Purposely.
I think everybody uses humor as a mask. No. Slightly.
Okay, I'll read you the quote specifically.
Okay, hear me out.
No, not until I'm done reading this. So, Fuentes said, quote, "Irony is so important for giving a lot of cover and plausible deniability for our views, specifically regarding Holocaust denial." And he had talked about this. You can look at the clip. You can see the clip of him talking about hiding it in irony. He is making this plausible deniability thing, and then you're falling for it.
Denial, because he genuinely believes the Holocaust happened. So he's talking about denying the Holocaust. Now, I think that's disgusting. Well, I don't even know if I would consider it disgusting. My grandma's a Holocaust survivor, so I'm aware. Clearly the Holocaust happened. It's a shitty idea that it didn't happen. That being said, it's really the only event in the world where you're not allowed to ask particular questions about it without people jumping down your throat and calling you anti-Semitic. Kind of like with this whole, for at least the reason I empathize with Nick so much is because for me, when I was during COVID, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this COVID thing comes from China, and then I was called racist against Chinese people, and I'm like, look, I'm not racist against Chinese people. So that's where I have the empathy for Nick.
Okay, but now, we're arguing about two different things here. We're arguing about two different things here. You're talking about a principle regarding whether or not somebody should be censored for having ideas and speaking those ideas, even if those ideas are bad or disagreed with. you and I can have a conversation about that. And I probably am going to end up not being as left when it comes to giving people the ability to speak freely about some of their opinions, even if their opinions are shitty. But the problem is that there's a difference between, I think his ideas are shitty, but at least he should have the right to say them, versus, well, I actually think he's kind of a nice person. I'm looking forward to seeing him again. And he told me he's not anti-Semitic, so I don't think he is. You have to see a difference.
I think all of those things could be the same. I think all of those could be true. Like, I think his ideas are shitty. I think they're wrong. That being said, I think so for instance, when he was talking about why he thought Black people were inherently less intelligent. And now I don't think that's true. And I think it creates racist stereotypes. He based everything in logic and reasoning.
That's the problem. You're falling for it.
No,
that's the optics trick he does.
So if he thinks it's a genuine, real issue that could be addressed and resolved
how is it going to be addressed and resolved? Do you know what his solution is? His solution would most likely, I don't think he's in favor of deporting Black people, but he definitely, his end goal would be something of an ethno-state. Not to mention, are you aware of the clip that leaked a couple of years ago where Fuentes said that a woman having sex with a Black man is the equivalent to a woman having sex with a dog? He said that those things are equally degenerate.
All right. So first of all, I know of Nick Fuentes as like the world's most prolific anti-Semite. That's all I know. I watched some of his shit on Cozy TV a couple of times, and I had, just because I was like, but I never could actually like sit and watch because I just don't have the stamina for it. I don't know. And usually it's late at night, and usually when I was like studying and stuff. So I didn't really watch him that intently. But like, I've never seen those clips. And that's a thing. Like, you could send clips around of me that make it look like I'm super racist too, right?
All right, why don't we just watch a clip then together, okay? I'll send this one to you right now.
Let's do that. On my phone.
I'm just putting it to you over on Discord.
Okay, so let me.
Here's Fuentes talking about, he has a slur in here, so I'm going to have to, speak over that on my stream. But here's Nick Fuentes talking about how Adolf Hitler is actually really cool. Let's go ahead and watch it.
I saw something on Twitter. I don't even know if this is true. But something on Twitter said, like, all of Hitler's girlfriends were 16 and 17. And Alex Jones, I don't even know if that's true, but if that is, that's probably why Alex Jones called Hitler a pedophile. And it's like, same thing about Hitler. MLK was a rapist, and Hitler was a pedophile. It's like, you know what? The world's a little bit more complicated than that. Okay? The world's a little bit more complicated than you're making it out to be. Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool. So, time to grow up. We're not children anymore. Am I right? Am I right, boys?
So once again,
am I right?
Hold on, wait, I'm almost on the clip. Wait 1 second.
Let's go. He was also really fucking cool. And any boy knows that. Anybody who watches these videos where he's rolling down the street and stuff, it's like, this guy's awesome. This guy's cool.
Okay.
All right. So keep in mind, he does
Your video is off again. I don't know if you want to turn it back. Okay. Sorry, you're back.
He does not believe the Holocaust happened, right?
Okay.
So,
which is a bad thing to believe, which is an anti-Semitic belief in and of itself, but go ahead.
I don't believe I think it's extremely ignorant, but to call like a lack of knowledge racist.
He doesn't. You're right. If there was someone who was like, hi, I've just migrated here to America. What is the Holocaust? Then yeah, sure.
Why would you migrate to America?
This is not, I'm giving you an example. This is not how Fuentes is. He knows what's going on with the Holocaust. He believes that the Holocaust has been exaggerated specifically by Jews to further garner sympathy for Jews, to further the Jewish agenda.
But he believes that.
Yes, and that belief is an anti-Semitic belief. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
No, that's what I don't. What I'm trying to say to you is, during COVID, I was told it was a racist belief to believe that COVID came from China. And I was told that multiple times.
What?
I lost friends. I lost therapists.
I
lost people in a. It's not a race. I genuinely believe that.
I'm not arguing with you. You saying that you think. Listen, no.
You're
Stop.
trying to censor Nick and call him a racist because he has beliefs.
Anybody.
Hold on, let me finish my thought. He has beliefs that are incorrect. He is wrong, but those beliefs he genuinely believes are based in logic, and because they make the Jewish people look bad, you're saying they're inherently racist.
No.
And I'm
No, that's not what I'm saying. I am saying that he writes off any logic or fact that he doesn't like as the Jewish studies. He has a already set bias and agenda. He thinks that the
Yes.
Jews control the world. That belief
had a
is an
set bias
anti-Semitic
and
belief.
agenda.
You thinking that something came from China is not the same thing as thinking that all Chinese people are actually out to get you or something. There is a difference there. So I could say, you know what? I don't think it's fair to call you a racist if you simply are like, did this thing come from China? I don't think that's a racist thing to even say. To be truthful, I don't.
Many people did, though.
Okay, but I
Many
don't
people
care.
did.
I don't care because sometimes people are wrong to call things racist and sometimes people are right to call things racist. And if there's a guy like
I think
Fuentes
that
talking
it's
about
wrong.
black people being inferior based on their genes, which is debunked pseudoscience, and now we have him saying Hitler's cool, and
It
you're over here
might
saying he's
be
a nice
debunked
person, not a racist,
pseudoscience.
and not an anti-Semite.
It might be debunked pseudoscience, but it's pseudoscience. It is something that people can easily fall for and easily
Like you.
believe.
You're falling for it right fucking now.
I am not. You think I believe that black people are
No, I think you're, no. I don't think you're that. I think you're falling for Nick Fuentes' whole little shtick where he ropes you in when you already have a right-wing bias with this, hey, isn't it fucked up that I'm always getting censored? Hey, I wonder who's doing that censoring, Lauren. Maybe they're the Jews. What do you know? And before you know it, you're roped all right into it. I don't think you're falling for the pseudoscience. I think you're falling for his optics game.
There's certain things that first of all, we're both conservative, so there are many things that Nick and I are inherently going to agree upon. Correct?
Okay. Sure.
So I think you feel like when you keep saying I'm falling for it, like there's already things that I already was set with before I met Nick. And I'm not falling for it, falling for any of his shit in any way. No, okay, the whole like Twitter wifey thing, it's just a joke, obviously.
The whole Twitter what?
Obviously. Like the flirting with Nick thing is clearly a joke.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I'm talking about you saying you think he's not an anti-Semite or saying you think he's kind of a nice person or a good person.
Oh, don't look at my Twitter.
Oh, we already looked at the clip on your Twitter or on Tom Fullery's Twitter where you were saying how you didn't think that.
No. You don't want to look at my Twitter right now. I've been like.
He also noted that I
never
am an
mind.
ape and I should go F myself.
So what do you think a good question someone in chat said is what would make somebody an anti-Semite in your opinion?
Yeah, so for me, like somebody who is like, I dislike Jewish people because they're Jewish, because they are bad people, and because
so then he's anti-Semitic. You've proven my point right now. So here's another quote from him.
I was like, do you dislike Jews? He said no.
Wow.
Do you think they're bad people? No.
You're a lawyer.
Are you anti?
You're a lawyer.
I asked him
You're a lawyer, Lauren. Stop.
What is your issue with
Come on,
Jewish
you're smarter
people?
than this. No, you're smarter than this. You're a lawyer. Your whole job is knowing that people fucking lie. Come on.
And
second of all, you just said an anti-Semite would be... Stop. You said an anti-Semite... I'm going to finish reading this because this is going to obliterate your point. You said that someone would be anti-Semitic if they really didn't like Jews because they were Jews. Do you think maybe wanting to deport Jews is pretty yikesy? Because Fuentes also said that Talmudic Jews, which are the more Orthodox Jews, he said they need to either leave the country or be converted. Forceful conversion? Converting people's religion?
Where did he say that?
His...
I feel like the last clip you showed me, first of all, you didn't even let me talk on that because I had several points about the last clip you showed me.
Well, you just asked me a question. We'll go back to that, but just let me at least finish this. This was at his America First event. Or was this at CPAC? Hold on. Yeah, no. This was his CPAC thing. And he kicked off his rant by announcing, I love you and I love Hitler. And said...
Once again, if you don't think the Holocaust happened, right? Go with that premise. Assume the Holocaust didn't happen for a second. Then would you consider Hitler a cool guy?
No, because your assumption that he thinks the Holocaust didn't happen, you're assuming he's believing that in good faith. You're assuming that he really is earnestly like this guy who's just like, I just can't figure it out, you know? In reality, he is out to push a specific agenda.
Okay, go along with the game with me. Just pretend like you think he's in good faith. Pretend like you don't think the Holocaust happened in good faith, now would you think Hitler wasn't so bad, was just trying to help Germany?
No. Still no, actually.
Why not?
Because you don't have to genocide 6 million people to still have the wrong
Assuming
fucking...
the Holocaust
Wait, to
didn't
still have the
exist.
wrong ideas and blame certain ethnic groups or minority groups for certain economic problems. I can hear you, yes. I'm sorry that I cut you off. Please go ahead, I will stay silent.
You keep fucking cutting me off. Okay, so with the first video, if you do not believe the Holocaust happened, if you genuinely don't believe the Holocaust happened, you don't think that Hitler was dividing people by race and exterminating them, then wouldn't you think Hitler was a good person?
I guess I would have to look at the other stuff he did, but I don't know. I mean, usually people who deny the Holocaust usually... Well, hold on, wait, because no. You
being loud,
stop.
Getting crowds excited. I think that's what Nick is referring to when he said Hitler was cool.
I don't care. I don't care what he was referring to. The thing is that Holocaust deniers don't usually say there was never a Holocaust that ever took place. They usually deny the extent by which the Holocaust occurred. So they would still acknowledge that there was some attempt at exterminating Jews. It just didn't culminate to the 6 million plus Jews that were killed. That's what they would say. So no Holocaust denier thinks that Hitler never even tried to divide people. Nobody even thinks this. So no, I don't think that Hitler would then be a good person otherwise, because he was still a bad person for blaming all of these economic problems on motherfucking Jews.
Okay, let me ask, do you think a real anti-Semite would like hang out with a Jewish person?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I should
100%.
myself.
Yes.
Do you think like a real Nazi would hang out with like a black person?
Yes. You know there were Jewish Nazis during the Holocaust, right? Yeah, well, you should look it up. That was a thing. Yeah, absolutely. Because when you have somebody like Fuentes, whose goal is to push an overall agenda, he's not going to get hung up on whether or not the person he's individually talking to is Jewish. He would go and talk to 5 Jewish people if it meant it was going to get him millions of views and spread his message.
Here's my issue. Everyone is giving all of his actions, you, Destiny, everyone is giving all of his actions so much like weight and malice. Like everything he's doing is intentionally.
Yes.
And I just think that he's like slightly retarded and autistic. And you know what? After hanging out with him and having dinner with him, I feel like I'm not wrong. Like, I'm sorry.
I think that you have a really, really bad ability to read people.
Yeah,
I think your perception of people is really fucking atrocious if you think that.
He acts like a 12-year-old. He's scared of vagina. What are you talking about? This is like a child.
I don't care if he's a child. I don't care if he's stupid. You are being just willfully ignorant or naive here to kid yourself into thinking that, oh, he's just this dummy going through life and accidentally saying anti-Semite stuff in here and there. Haha. No, he has a very calculated agenda. He has had this agenda. He's been clear about this agenda. I have been following Nick Fuentes' shit for the last several years. You can look up lists of all the different things he said, denying the Holocaust, talking about the Jewish mafia, the Jewish media, all the studies he doesn't agree with, all the Jews did it. Like, my God. How, like,
he believes it though. Like,
yes, he said that. You are already saying that an anti-Semite is somebody who's really hostile or angry or doesn't like Jews for being Jews, and he said he wants to fucking deport Jews. How is that not being anti-Semitic?
Okay, if you're saying that he wants to round up Jewish people and deport them, which I had never heard until this moment,
okay,
I would think that's bad, and I think that would be so like I could I'll come to you a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That being
and maybe
said,
that's the problem, is when he presents himself to you at dinner, he's really nice and...
You keep showing me clips, like the one that you showed me that was meant to destroy my point. I feel like it proves my point even further. If you're assuming that what Hitler did wasn't genocide, wasn't like murdering all the Jews, it wasn't, and it had purpose, and I did talk to him about this, that he thinks that, I mean, like, I hate that it was based on race, but he thinks that there was a war, that there were certain people involved in the Treaty of Versailles purposely fucking over Germany, and that during war there's tragedies and people die during tragedies and war, and Hitler did his best to help the German people, survive in these troubling times. And if you believe that, then you would think Hitler's cool. I don't believe that, obviously. I think Hitler's terrible. He killed almost my entire family. I love my grandma. I know she's being on. Like, I'm not even questioning her for a second.
No, I know. I don't think you're denying the Holocaust. I think that I just think your bar for being anti-Semitic here is getting really, really high. And I think that you're saying like you think he's kind of just floating through stuff, but then at the same time you're talking about talking to him backstage, and it sounds pretty obvious that he's thought this through. He has a calculated belief, and he obviously...
I don't know. He doesn't give me... And then what you said about maybe your bar being too high for anti-Semitism, do you know how low the bar is for most Jewish people that I know?
I don't care. But this is irrelevant. You're just like, there's this double standard here. Okay, double standards exist, so don't be contributing to the double standard. Be consistent.
The Jewish people to always be offended by everybody and to be...
This is irrelevant. You're
ADLs? No, it's not.
You're
because
blowing
it's
hot air about nothing right now.
This keep interrupting me, and it's driving me up a wall. Thank you for shutting up. Now I've lost my train of thought. But essentially, if you keep censoring people, you're going to gas them up. So the reason that it's pissing me, so like all of this anti-Semitism is rising at the same time that censorship is rising. So the more that we censor people from saying things that are incorrect about the Holocaust or just being generally rude to Jews, and the more that Jews are constantly whining about it, it's worse for us. I would rather have Nazis and anti-Semites in the public space so that we could hear their ideas and then know like why they're wrong and maybe inform them a bit. A huge issue with the Destiny Nick Fuentes debate in the first place is Nick Fuentes is chock full of conspiracy theories that nobody's ever fucking heard of unless they're also in on the conspiracy theory because he's so goddamn censored, unfortunately, by Jewish organizations. And it's not
You're
good.
actually doing it.
I'm sorry, but...
It's not Jewish... Wait. What Jewish organization?
ADL.
What Jewish organization?
Nation League.
Huh?
The ADL. It's like it's like a Jewish like don't speak. It's like
calling they will try to call it anti-Semitism, and I know the ADL gets a lot of backlash, and I know that they've been far from perfect.
I don't like the ADL. I think the ADL is harmful to Jews because I think the more the ADL tries to censor, especially America,
I need to cut in now. I need to cut in because you're no offense, Lauren, but you're an argument against your own point right now because the guy's censored because his rhetoric is harmful, and it then spreads to more people when he has a larger platform. And the bigger platform he has, the more people he is going to deceive. And you are literally an example of that because he's not censored so much. You still had a chance to talk to him and see some of his shit. And guess what? Now you're falling for it. Now you're telling me he was actually... Wait, you just told me that it was because, unfortunately, of Jewish organizations he was censored. Wait, do you think the ADL was solely responsible for banning him? You think that YouTube was all fine and dandy with Nick Fuentes on there, then the ADL came along and then Nick got banned?
No, I'm pointing out certain Jewish organizations are hurting themselves. There's many organizations, not just Jewish organizations. I mean, Twitter's not a Jewish organization. Facebook's not a Jewish organization.
So then why did you say he was being censored by Jewish organizations?
It's not because Jewish organizations are also censoring him, and that's part of the issue. Is that
no, it's not. The fact that you're no. Now I'm gonna cut you off because this is actually getting me really mad. The fact that you're like no, they're not all Jewish organizations, herder. But then why are you focusing on the Jewish organizations? That's what the Nazi talking point is.
Reason I'm focusing on the Jewish organizations because I'm talking about Jews hurting themselves. So I'm saying, as a Jewish person, somebody who would like to support Jewish organizations, I don't think it's harmful for Jewish organizations who are trying to help Jewish people, like the ADL is clearly trying to help Jewish people. I think it's shooting themselves in the foot because what it's doing is it causes people like Nick Fuentes to go not in the public sphere and communicate, but to create his own platform like Cozy TV and then create a bubble. And then once you have a bubble and you don't have people in there challenging you in your bubble and you have echo chamber, then it creates a way more devastating effect. And that's exactly what happened with the debate with Destiny and Nick.
I think that you're right in many ways, but I don't think the solution to that is giving this person just like a free platform everywhere. Like, I think that there's probably a middle ground.
Why censor him?
Because then more people will be convinced by his ideas, and it's far more likely to spread to more harm.
Do you not care about the First Amendment at fucking all?
We're not talking about the First Amendment.
Yeah,
if we're talking about private companies like YouTube, we're not talking about the First Amendment.
Okay, sure, yeah, okay. Yes, you're technically right that private companies are obviously not bound to the First Amendment. However, all of these private companies are working in unison like a monopoly, which is violation of antitrust laws in the first place, to censor certain people, specifically Nick. I don't like censorship. So Nick, the only thing that I really, really agree with Nick on, because obviously all of this Holocaust shit is wrong. However, the whole censorship thing drives me absolutely batshit, and it's creating a worse situation for the Jews, because then all the Jew haters go into this little cozy TV and talk together and hype each other up and agree with each other on conspiracy theories that I've never even heard of. So when I do meet Nick in person, I had never even heard this idea that Jews are the reason that the Treaty of Versailles was signed. Have you heard that? But I would like to be able to research that and then combat it and then talk to him about it. But the thing is, I didn't even hear that until it came out of his fucking mouth.
Because you said you didn't want to watch his show. He has Cozy TV, where apparently he gets thousands of viewers. He's not like censored. He's just not. Hold on, wait, please, wait. He's not really that censored at the end of the day. He's not allowed on any of the major companies, because that's going to hurt their advertising at the end of the day. And he overall contributes to a far worse environment for the platform. And it really just costs them money, and it's not fucking worth it.
Okay, fine. I do have a lot of empathy with your capitalism argument. Good job. You know how to win me over. And private companies absolutely do want to put their bottom dollar first. And however, you're losing audience. I think there's plenty of advertisers who, if you tell them you're going to have a range of people that you're going to be advertised under, and obviously these advertisers,
they're not going to.
I'm sorry, what? I know I have.
Then why are they going to ban him? Do you understand how any of these companies work when they ban people? Like, do you think that Twitter's or like Facebook is sitting around like, oh, what he said was really offensive? No, it's the fact that it's a business like any other. So if you have somebody in your car dealership screaming like the N-word in the corner, you're going to lose business because nobody's going to want to go there. So you have the right to get that person out for the sake of your own business. Same thing goes with somebody spreading a bunch of anti-Semitism and racist bullshit.
Your argument doesn't work because people weren't leaving Twitter when Nick Fuentes was there because of Nick Fuentes.
People may have not been as willing to advertise on there.
You people left. I doubt any advertisers full advertising because Nick Fuentes was still on Twitter. Okay. I would love to see any evidence of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, we can look into that if you'd like. But I mean, that's generally the argument against why a lot of these people are censored to begin with.
And I have empathy for that. I do. My issue, however, is that I don't think it was economic based, and I don't want to force these companies to be pro First Amendment. However, I do want Americans and American companies in particular to recognize how important freedom of speech is. Especially,
so then would you be in favor of forcing the car dealership to allow the customer to just keep screaming the N-word in the?
So first of all, the car dealership and a physical presence company versus an online company, in which the entire point of the company is about speech and exchanging of ideas, versus a shop in which people are trying to get goods and do a thing really quickly, in which people have to come into a physical space. So that's totally, I don't feel like those are...
I don't think it's that different. I mean, you can censor people in a real public square as well. Even the law can. Even if it's the public square, if you're walking around naked or yelling obscenities, they can get you for disturbing the peace.
Yes. If you're so things that are not protected, once again, First Amendment, things that are not protected by the First Amendment, you could be arrested for. But then again, the First Amendment was put in place because it wanted to have the open marketplace of ideas. It thought that light was the best disinfectant, sunlight was the best disinfectant, And all of these things still hold true in the First Amendment. So I would prefer obviously I wouldn't want to force, because I'm not against,
because that would be a violation of their First Amendment also. Because they, as a private company, have First Amendment rights as well. But I feel like we're getting a little bit off. This might be a good discussion to have in another time, but I feel like we are getting a little bit off subject, because I think that I feel like I've provided you, though, enough evidence at least to at least heavily suggest that Nick Fuentes he's probably anti-Semitic.
Okay, sure, fine. But like, I still have so much empathy for him, because I feel like if he's anti-Semitic, it's not because of hatred in his heart. I think it's because of misinformation that he genuinely believes.
Okay.
That I feel like
so then you're being dumb. This is a dumb thing to say. You're being stupid right now. You're being like fucking dumb if you think that. If you genuinely in your heart think that Nick fucking Fuentes is just this innocent little lost lad desperately trying to find the truth, and he's been fed this poor misinformation, you're not only lying to yourself, but you're lying to everybody listening. There is no way. I don't think you actually even believe that. I think you're lying, and you're just playing defense for him because you have a like preconceived right-wing bias.
So when I definitely do this. Okay, I know you've done this. Have you ever met a person who is so like set in their belief and that they're super biased? It doesn't really matter what information you give them to disprove their bias. They're like already super biased, so you can't sway them, and even to the slightest.
Sure.
Does that mean that they're purposefully ignoring things, or does that mean that they're like emotionally or for some reason can't get past their bias, but that doesn't mean that they're...
I think this is actually a better, more fundamental thing, because I think what we're getting at here is, can somebody be racist or anti-Semitic unintentionally? Which I think is where we're disagreeing. I think that you think that you have to be intentional about it, but I don't think that's the case. I think that if there was somebody, for example, I think that a lot of white people back in, the ye days or whatever, were racist. I don't think that they were walking around intentionally just like, yeah, I hate black people. But if they're walking around, even if it's because of their own ignorance, and they just believe that black people are inferior to white people because they're black, they're still racist. That is still a racist thing to believe.
Okay, what if I thought, I think black people, I don't know, let's just change it to purple. I think purple people commit more crimes and are more violent, and I have all of this data and stats to back it up, and I have these beliefs. Does that make me racist against purple people?
No. Not to think that they have a higher crime rate or anything like that. No. But the reason...
You just push it a little bit, and eventually you become Nick Fuentes.
No, you don't. There's a fucking chasm between these two things. I believe that black people commit disproportionate levels of crime. I believe that. I would give you FBI statistics to show you that. I could do that too. But I'm not Nick Fuentes, because the difference is one of us believes this is a result of largely societal problems, and the other believes this is a problem largely because of genetics. And if you believe there is a... Hold on, wait, please, wait. Not only is this whole genetic thing complete bullshit, it has not even been taken seriously in the sciences since I think like the fucking 80s or 90s. It is a joke. Okay. It's been done away with. So yes, if you are going to cling to this idea that black people are genetically inferior, then yeah, it's racist. You're believing that black people are less than white people.
Hunter, we talked about this before we went live, a day ago, right? About how, we talked about Nick Fuentes' argument about why black people are inferior and how he...
Yeah, about why black people commit more crime and everything.
But it wasn't totally wildly, logically irrational.
What he was saying?
Like, we had to look up studies and shit to disprove things that he was saying.
The problem is that people, you don't need to disprove what he's saying. When he says black people commit more crime, that's not something you disprove because it's true.
No. When he was saying that black people are inherently less intelligent, we could tell because we have all this data.
So what was a good idea? What was one of the convincing pieces of data that he brought up?
You mentioned the two studies, one about the adopting the black kids.
Yeah.
Okay. So the point that I'm trying to make here is Nick had a point, and he backed it up with logic and a study, and then you were like, okay, I disagree with that point because different logic, different study, but it's still like a logic-based study argument instead of like, I hate Black people because fuck them.
It's not, though. It's actually a feelings argument. It only feels, it seems like a logical argument because it gives you that intuitive like click. But that's the problem also, is that intuitively, yeah, if you're like, hey, look at all this data showing that Black people are less intelligent than white people. Look at all this data showing that Black people commit more crimes. Maybe it's, because they're Black. Like, look, that's happening only with Black people, it seems, or at least like way more with Black people. That seems like an intuitive answer. That's the problem. It's not logical at all, because the logical side of things rejects the intuitive feeling and instead goes with, okay, well, hold on. Even if that's true, why is that the case? Why are Black people committing more crimes?
That's a step of intelligence. So
but don't we know, for example, that hold on, one more thing. This is the last thing I'm going to say. Don't we know already that like human beings are a result of their environment? We already know that. So just like clinging to this genetic thing, yeah. And especially when it's this debunked pseudoscience, he's believing lies because of hatred in his heart for Black people. At least that's what it seems.
If I had $1 for every time a Democrat told me something was either debunked or pseudoscience that I believed in my heart, and having a Democrat tell me that it was debunked or pseudoscience didn't make me fucking change my opinion. So I have a lot of for instance, when it comes to trans issues, you could tell me my opinions are debunked in pseudoscience all the fuck you want until you're blue in the goddamn face, but I'm still gonna believe what I believe about the whole trans issue. And I don't think that makes me hateful towards trans people, because I'm not hateful towards trans people.
I don't think it necessitates you hate trans people, just like I don't think it necessitates that Nick hates Black people. But at the end of the day, I'm not even that concerned about what Nick Fuentes truly believes in his heart, because I don't know. I don't know what he believes in his heart. What matters is what he says, the results of what he says, and the types of things he advocates for. So even if he closes the door and he is actually this really nice, accepting guy who worships MLK, if he gets up on stage and starts preaching that Black people are inferior and this, that, and the other thing, he doesn't even have to be racist. He's furthering racism. So in my book, he needs to be condemned for that.
Okay, I don't know all I have ever said is that I agree with him about like the whole censorship thing. I think it's bullshit. And
you thought he was a good person.
Yeah, he was a good person to me. I mean, like, it's just really hard for me to think that you hate Jewish people when you go out of your way to be nice to a Jew.
Do you understand my argument? That let's take a step back. Maybe you're right. Maybe he doesn't hate Jews.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you still think there's a problem with the rhetoric he spreads that furthers the hatred of Jews?
I think it's his genuine belief. I don't want to censor his rhetoric. I think that if he talks about it more freely, especially on public platforms, he would meet more Jewish people and have more abilities to converse with him about his incorrect ideas, and then maybe learn. So for instance, he doesn't think that
it's like a fairy tale.
He doesn't think the gas chambers exist, right? So you don't think he met somebody who gave him definitive proof that the gas chambers existed?
No, he wouldn't care. No. You can give him definitive evidence of it. You can give him a proof. You can give him pictures. He'll tell you it's manufactured by the Jews. Like, he's done this already. And plus, you have to also acknowledge that you just meeting somebody briefly backstage doesn't really give you much of a read on whether or not they're a good person. It's way more about
it wasn't we went out for dinner.
Yeah, it's way more about their actions long term. So, like, I'm sure Adolf Hitler helped a nice old lady cross the street before. Sure. But you know what? At the end of the day, he also killed a bunch of people. So, no, he's not a good person. Nick Fuentes maybe was nice to you at dinner, but he preaches anti-Semitic ideas, so he's not a good person.
I think that he preaches ideas that make Jews look bad. Yes, I agree. That being said, I think there are ideas that are frequently highly censored, and I would like somebody to be allowed to say it so that I can at least know what ideas are out there, hear them, and then combat them with logic.
I don't think that's what you're going to do, though. I think you're going to hear it and then just believe it.
You think I'm just going to if the Holocaust didn't exist.
So no, but I think you're going to inch by inch start believing more and more and capitulating more and more to his bullshit ideas. I do. I think that you are the impressionable one, and you don't realize it. You don't realize how you've already fallen for his whole little optics game. You're not realizing any of this.
Okay, I think so many people come in with he's awful. It's easy to hate him. He's like a figure people love to hate. Nobody ever gives him the benefit of the doubt. Why don't we have this conversation again in a fucking year? And hopefully I'll have hung out with him a few more times, and maybe he is a dick. Okay, maybe
it doesn't matter if he's a dick. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. He can be nice. He can be the nicest person until the day he dies. But if he goes
so when I said he was a good person, maybe I meant to say he was a nice person. Okay?
Is that what you meant? He was a nice person?
Maybe that's what I meant. He was nice.
Well, I think that would definitely be better.
He's nice to my mutual friends that have known him a lot longer than I have. I have mutual friends with him who've known him for years.
You did say he's a nice person in this one. Yeah, hold on.
Nick Fuentes. Is that who we're talking about?
Yeah, he's nice. And he's extremely respectful when not on camera. He is easy to get along with. He acts like a child. Barely knows how to use chopsticks. Like really, like just an autistic kid working his way through the world with way too much power, who's immediately hated for asking questions.
No. He's not asking questions. See, you're doing it still. You're still doing the thing. That's the Nazi joke. That's why we all joke over here and we say, hey, I'm just asking questions, Pepe. Because that's the joke. This is where have you ever thought about how Jews control everything and kind of want to wipe out the white man? Oh, I'm just asking questions, though. What do you mean, dude? I'm just playing around, LOL.
Here's the thing.
His plausible deniability thing again.
I just don't like censorship, man. Like, I don't know how to.
Okay. Look at my fucking channel. You can be against censorship and also agree that he is and also not be so willing to defend him in this way. You're being so charitable to him, giving him so much of the benefit of the doubt.
Yes. Nobody ever gives him the benefit of the doubt.
I wonder why. Do you think that he just was born into the world where he was never given the benefit of the doubt? He's a grown-ass man in his 20s. Okay?
Who went after the worst topic to go after if you're going to be asking for the benefit of the doubt. I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't even know what to say to that. Yeah.
He doesn't get the benefit of the fucking doubt.
Nor should he. He doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. He does not deserve it when he's already admitted to using irony to give himself that plausible deniability. Then that already invalidates a fuck ton of what he says because we don't know what he's saying truthfully because he's probably saying all sorts of shit to cover it up. He's acknowledged this though. And I guarantee you that if some kind of a liberal or something was caught with saying this kind of shit or something, you would be all over it. You're definitely giving this guy way too much benefit of the doubt.
I think for me, the issue is I see it's not just Jewish people, but Jewish people for sure. There's another group that comes to mind, but way too harsh on people we assume people are anti-Semitic way too quickly.
Do you think that maybe Nick Fuentes is way too harsh towards Jews with thinking that they need to be converted or that they're ruining the world? I mean, here's one of the quotes.
I'm not Nick Fuentes. I can't control Nick Fuentes, but I am Jewish. And I can control myself.
He's talking here in one of these quotes.
He says, also, the way that I'm able to, when I am giving Nick Fuentes the benefit of the doubt, I have had people from Nick Fuentes' camp be like, I feel like this is the first Jewish person I'm able to relate to. And I think that is part of bridging the divide, getting anti-Semitic people to hate Jewish people a little bit less, is by laughing at ourselves, allowing people to say anti-Semitic things and then combat them with logic and instead of combating them with censorship.
I would agree with that, sure. But I feel like, although I think we might be able to agree with that last part there, I don't think that you are going to do that. I don't think you're going to combat them with logic and whatnot. I think that
watch my Fresh and Fit
because you're giving them I feel like you're just giving them way too much benefit of the doubt. You're assuming this level of charitability here that I don't think is actually there. Not to mention, you're trying to paint. Well, hold on one more second here. You're trying to paint Fuentes as like this little kid who's so lost. Yeah. He's been preaching this shit now for what, 5 to 7 years, maybe?
Yeah, it's like a
like how long is it going to take for him to grow out of his little Nazi phase?
He's like 24. And
I'm 26. I don't care. And not to mention, he said this. This is the one thing I was trying to read. He said, Orthodox Judaism has entrenched itself in the highest echelons of power all over the world, replacing what was once beautiful with something disgusting. Do you think that that's like an anti-Semitic thing to say?
Okay, here's the thing. You're gonna hate me. Look, I love every Jewish person, all the Orthodox ones as well. However, if you're looking at some of the Orthodox things, people do consider Orthodox Judaism to be somewhat of a cult. Like, they do certain things, like they treat women differently than they treat men. They have really strict rules, especially for women and children, and involving our periods, like everything is so. It's so I could see how that's a little bit culty to some people. And so if you think that this cult has taken over institutions of power, you would think that's bad.
World.
Okay, yes. Like, now, is this idea about, like, is it bad to be promoting? Is it bad for Jewish people to be promoting the idea that Jewish people are in control of the entire world and are fucking everybody over? Yes, it's a terrible thing for the Jewish people, for people to believe that. That being
Christianity has that kind of stuff too, though. Like the list of rules and the weird ritualistic stuff. Like, now it's true that, well, hold on. It's true that the Orthodox Judaism still upholds those traditions far more, but Abrahamic religions in general tend to have some weird shit with, how to treat women and stuff like that. That's like a common thing. So when you are preaching that this Judaism has entrenched itself in the highest positions of power all over the world, and the key here is replacing what was once beautiful with something disgusting, that is verbatim the JQ. I mean, you are believing that the Jews are controlling the world and using that power to destroy Western civilization, or whatever you want to fill in the blank there with. I'm sorry, I know I just one more thing I was going to say really quickly is, I also would probably agree with you that there's a lot of issues with like the Orthodox Judaism beliefs and whatnot. And I'm not afraid to criticize Judaism. But again, there is a way to criticize this and criticize religion and criticize religious beliefs and all of that, and do so harshly and well without then concluding, well, because this religion is bad, I also think that members of this religion control the world and are trying to wipe out the white man. Like, do you see what I mean?
No, because, oh my God.
You don't see what I mean.
Look, I get where you're coming from, and I think the majority of people are going to agree with you, and the majority of people are going to see where you're coming from over where I'm coming from. However, with my experience, and I just feel like a broken record at this point, with my experience of going through COVID, almost getting expelled from school, dealing with the bar situation, dealing with my recent battles with censorship, and seeing that it creates. And then also when I enter an echo chamber, so like I've gone into several conservative spaces being like, well, this might be the only place I could talk. And then I hear retarded ideas that are being amplified in these conservative spaces because there's no one there to combat it with logic. It's nasty. I don't think that the censorship is a good idea. I also think that
I think we would agree. And like I said, in many ways, I think we're probably, well, that's not quite true. I think we would probably still disagree on how much freedom of speech people should have on like private
social media is hard because they're private companies, and I understand that. I would like to see a company that like truly upholds the First Amendment, like up to the First Amendment, like no upset.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that, like, again, this is just, I feel like this is just two separate conversations. I think this is a good place to end, because the conversation about whether or not censorship is a good response to bad ideas is a great conversation to have, but that doesn't excuse you just infantilizing Nick this whole time and treating him like he's just like this innocent little lad when he's like this malicious person, and I feel like you're falling for it. And I don't know.
Well,
I also, the thing is, I get mad because I genuinely, well, hold on, last thing is, I genuinely do think that you're smarter than like the average conservative. So when I hear you say shit like this, I'm like, come on, Lauren, no, you're better than this.
I just, like, okay, so you're saying that he is racist against Jewish people because it's one thing to have your beliefs in, I really don't track because like I when I compare myself with the whole Chinese thing and I'm basing it based in logic, like I think coronavirus came from China. I think that
That's fine. We don't need to get into this. I appreciate you coming on here. Again, thanks for the good conversation, and yeah, talk again soon.
Okay, you're that upset?
Huh?
You're that upset?
No, I'm not upset. I thought we were in with the conversation.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, I guess I'm gonna have to censor you now. Peace.